Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Paperboy Ventures. Today, we're joined by Jesse Konig, the co-founder and CEO of Jesse and Ben's Fries. Jesse, welcome back to the pod.
Thanks. Excited to be a repeat. Am I one of the first repeats or what?
You're actually the first repeat,
Nice. I'll take
so
it.
you broke through the barrier, and yeah, just to catch people up. So Jesse and Ben's was a part of Paperboy season 2, and it's really just been incredible to witness their growth over that time frame since we last talked to them. So I think Jesse, you could tell me, but Sprouts national launch, Whole Foods national launch, you opened up a 6,000 square foot new facility. I mean, what's up? What's going on over there?
Yeah, it's been pretty wild. So I think to give everyone the background if they don't know, we launched the brand in retail last year in June 2024. Started out with just some independent doors on the East Coast. We launched into Whole Foods Mid-Atlantic region, 40 stores, and Mom's Organic Market on the East Coast. That was really kind of our testing ground and went pretty well. Felt like it was all moving in the right direction and we had something that was working. So we ended up getting into Fresh Time Midwest, end of the year, 6 months in, about 400 grocery stores. And then, yeah, like Kyle was saying, we've just launched Sprouts nationwide, all their stores with 4 SKUs, which is exciting. We also had a new sweet potato fry cooked in beef tallow, which is great. That's just launching, kind of rolling out right now. We're launching Whole Foods nationwide the end of this month. So, like about 3 weeks, we'll be on the shelves there. And then have some other things cooking, trying to get in like Thrive Market and some other fun indie stores and all that. But yeah, I think a year in, we'll basically be in 1,600, almost 2,000 stores all over the country and lots of happy people eating fries, which is what we're all about.
Incredible. And so for the people that didn't listen to the first one, do you mind just giving us the quick pitch on what you do and your core lineup of products? Because I heard a new one in there. So let's kick off with that.
Yeah, so we're Jesse and Ben's. I'm Jesse. There's a Ben. Our background's in restaurants, and we set out to make the world's best frozen fries. We try to make really a true restaurant quality fry that you can make at home in the oven or air fryer. And we also focus on using really clean ingredients. So at our French fries, you'll find just non-GMO potatoes, and then we use healthy fats like 100% grass-fed beef tallow, like McDonald's back in the day, or avocado oil and sea salt. We get really crazy. We do a rosemary garlic fry with avocado oil. It's got 5 ingredients in that one, but we try to just keep it simple, not use all the weird processed stuff, just going back to basics and making great fries. And yeah, our kind of hero SKUs, we've got the tallow and sea salt. That's our potatoes, grass-fed beef tallow, sea salt. We've got a classic sea salt, same thing, but using avocado oil. Rosemary garlic is also an avocado oil base with rosemary and garlic in there. And then we just launched with Sprouts Farmers Market nationwide, the world's first, heard it here first, the sweet potato fry cooked in beef tallow. And that's been doing really well. People love it. So yeah, we've just been really excited to make fries that taste delicious, use simple ingredients. People love them. So just trying to do more of that and keep on rolling.
It's incredible. So congrats on all of that. I think what you're doing is perfectly timed with what's happening across the broader market. And the conversation that got us on the podcast today was when we were texting about the anti-seed oil movement and what's happening with beef tallow and avocado oil and the whole situation when it comes to fast food in this country. So I know that's why we're really here to talk today. So what's kind of been your view of that? I know you hit the market in June of 2024. So could you just talk about like what you're seeing out there and how it's impacted your business?
Yeah, I mean, so we've been tracking trends for kind of a long time, sort of by accident, and just realized we were kind of good at it. When we first got into food, it was actually on the restaurant food service side of things. So if people didn't know our story, Ben and I met in college. We launched a food truck right after we graduated, which is kind of this new trending thing in 2014. Did it in Washington D.C. Got into farmers markets and catering, and eventually opened a restaurant in COVID, which is brutal. But all it to be said, when we first started out, we didn't have any experience, and we were trying to learn about sourcing and where we should buy our food. Got really into just kind of first principles thinking. I was like, oh, okay, like let's learn about the meat industry. Let's learn about these things. And grass-fed, grass-finished beef was something that was like pretty early days, but not a lot of people talked about that in 2013, 2014. We thought it was awesome along with sourcing locally. So we really doubled down on that. Over time, we got into regenerative grass-fed beef and kind of learning about even a deeper dive, like sort of the gold standard in our mind of things that are doing great stuff for the environment, super nutrient dense, taste great. There's more brands doing that now. We did smash burgers like in 2017, which was kind of a newer thing. So all in all, like we've just typically found things early, and there's something weird about that because sometimes being too early is the same thing as being wrong. But as we were thinking about French fries and kind of surviving COVID and making a really great frozen fry for our restaurant and realizing, whoa, wow, there's nothing in the freezer aisle, we did that same deep dive we did on meat for years and started learning about sourcing of potatoes and on oil. And the grumblings we started seeing in 2022, 2021 around seed oils and ultra processed food and some of the stuff that's now really emerging, we just saw the writing on the wall like, wow, this is going to be really big. It seems like to the tune of keto and paleo and some of these gluten free and some of these larger things. Like, why wouldn't people want to take these things out of their diet as they learn more about them? Sort of our take. So when we were thinking about launching our brand in 2022, 2023, and eventually got up and running in 2024, we didn't know exactly how things were going to shake out. Honestly, we did two SKUs of or two flavors using avocado oil and one using beef tallow because avocado oil was kind of proven out. There was Siete Foods, Boulder Canyon. There was stuff in the grocery store, other parts of the aisles that were doing avocado oil. We didn't really know if tallow was going to work. We knew this meme and this idea around, McDonald's fried in beef tallow for 40 years and built their business on that. And we're famous for fries and people love tallow. And in Belgium, they used beef tallow. Like there's a lot of reasons why we thought it could work. We thought people might be weirded out. So we were like, okay, let's try it with tallow. It'll either be great or it's going to be our worst performer, or if they switched it out. And it's kind of just taken off, obviously, because of all the tailwinds of and curiosity people have had around this stuff. And they just taste delicious. So, long winded way to say, I think we saw it early, but we were still hesitant. We didn't know it was going to happen. And we've been very lucky with the timing that we kind of proved it out in one region and we're just rolling out nationwide while this is becoming a very national mainstream conversation. And I think having that awareness and that curiosity has led people to give us a shot. And we also make fries that just taste really good no matter what oil they're made in. So that helps too.
Yeah, that always helps. It's always about taste and consumer, no matter what else. What other benefits you have associated with the product? But would love to hear about your philosophy when it comes to tallow versus avocado oil, because you've got four SKUs now, and I think you're split two and two, right? Why are you using one or the other with those flavors? Can you talk about your philosophy?
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it is we really believed in giving people options that were sort of seed oil free. We saw that there was a demand there. We saw avocado oil as an option that people understood. Like at the time, honestly, we were looking at the algae oil. Zero Acre makes a really great like cane sugar based fermented oil. We were looking at other things that were out there, and for us, we thought, okay, we're already gonna have to educate people about seed oil free and why maybe this is better, why it tastes better, why you might want to choose this over the traditional French fries. We all probably don't want to also be educating them on like what algae oil is or what Zero Acre Farms fermented cane sugar oil is and all that kind of stuff. So we thought, okay, avocado oil has been kind of proven out. We like the flavor. It's versatile. It tastes good. It works in other parts of the grocery store. And then tallow was like, let's take a risk on this. We think it could be really good. There's all this provenance around beef tallow being used in frying French fries for hundreds of years, if not longer, in places like Belgium and in Europe, and then in McDonald's. So we wanted to take a bet on that. And then as we got into it and started seeing people loving the tallow fries and the avocado ones too, but the tallow in particular, we weren't sure about it, we started thinking about the idea that actually it's interesting because no one else in the country is doing a tallow fry. So can we continue to double down on this while it's sort of our thing that no one else can replicate? Because it's challenging. It doesn't, we make all of our own fries from scratch. We're vertically integrated. We own our manufacturing. And a lot of the other companies aren't doing that. So they have an inability to compete and create something like that we're doing. So we thought, why not keep doubling down on something that sets us apart, makes us different? Maybe people will figure it out. But in the meantime, let's show people that there's a demand for this and keep growing the options there. So we got into sweet potato fries. It's pretty early to say. We're like 3 weeks into a new rollout, but people have been raving about them on social media and tagging us, and they've been selling out. So it seems like those are doing really well. And then we're going to just keep letting customer demand tell us where we should go. And we also like the idea of having both options. Like both do really well. So clearly there are people that like the avocado oil ones too, and people that are vegetarian or vegan or have a family with some people that eat one way or another. So we like having both options generally. I think we'll continue to have options for people that are vegetarian or that want tallow. But I think we also will just keep following what people want and keep trying to do that because at the end of the day, we're trying to make food that makes people happy. So we try to listen to the customers and what they're trying to get us to make for them.
Yeah, it's great to hear the vertical integration. It just gives you a huge advantage to do what others can't. And if you're looking at the future of your business and the I guess the broader fries market in total, and you're betting on avocado oil or tallow, which one would you choose?
I think from like getting everywhere, at least in the short term, I think it would be avocado oil, mostly just because of some of the infrastructure challenges. Like there are these really big companies that sort of dominate the frozen French fry world, and most of them are operating in these huge facilities that are, making 1 million pounds of potatoes a day. And it's just going to be more challenging for them to do something like beef tallow, whether it's on the sourcing side or whether it's on just like the fact that beef tallow is solid at room temperature is like a weird thing you don't think about if you're not in the manufacturing world, but just like most of the stuff they've built in the last 30, 40 years is built around hoses and tanks and all this kind of
Liquid.
stuff, liquid. So
Yeah.
yeah, they're using vegetable oil. They call it tri-blend, which is like corn oil, soybean oil, canola oil, whatever is the cheapest. They basically will use that. So that's usually how their businesses are set up. And it's easier to figure out how to go from that to a liquid avocado oil than it is to go from that to beef tallow. Even if there's slightly more demand for beef tallow, they're going to just do the easier option, I think. Um, so that's where I see it going. Maybe olive oil becomes a little bit more popular too. I could see that. Um, I think another upstart brand like ours could maybe get into tallow stuff, but we'll see what happens. It's not easy to do, so they're welcome to try.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, it's about who makes fries that taste good and the brand that's fun and resonates with people. So, we try not to. We definitely are aware of what's going on, but we try to just focus on what we can do uniquely well and try to keep putting out great products. And we know there's just so many options and opportunities in the potato space when you think about crinkle cut fries and waffle fries and tater tots and hash browns and different seasonings and coatings. Like there's so much opportunity just in the kind of like frozen potato door that we're in right now that we try to just keep thinking about what would be the best thing to do next that people are going to be most excited about. And I think if we keep following that, we'll be in a good spot.
Yeah, there's a lot of different formats you could get into just, building off of what you already have today. So that's super interesting. With looking at the next or just the past year, you're about a year into retail. Have you noticed like a tipping point when it comes to the seed oil market and retailers coming to you maybe and talking about, are there other options? Can you help us out? Like what have you noticed really over the past year?
I think it depends, but it definitely seems to be becoming a point of conversation. Like it seems like as we talk to people, when they hear a buzzword like seed oil free or they hear a buzzword like tallow, their ears perk up because they've kind of been thinking about this already. It's not like we're giving them a brand new idea or having to convince them about it. They kind of know it's a thing. So we definitely have seen more interest in that in the last 6 months than we did in our first 6 months in business. We were trying to get out there. Um, I think also from what we've heard that the larger retailers and observed as well, like it's not a secret. If you go to Costco, they have in a lot of regions, they sell like big bulk jars of beef tallow for cooking at home. And they're now rolling that out nationwide. So it's like they saw success in
Yeah.
test regions and they're rolling it out nationwide. Naturally, they're probably looking for like, how can I find this thing that people like and put it in other parts of the store? So I think we think that's really interesting that when we watch the other adjacent brands like Epic Provisions, right? They started with meat bars and now they do like duck fat and meat and beef tallow and that kind of stuff. It's like I see that more. I see some of these things. We were at Expo West at the trade show. More brands were calling out animal fats or they're calling out seed oil free and or all these things. So I think generally it does seem like things are rolling in this direction. And maybe a follow up question that yours already in your head. It's like, what happens to this trend long run? I think in my mind, COO free, maybe it's quote unquote like a buzzword and it kind of settles down over time. Maybe the same way people think of like keto was all the rage 5 years ago and it still is relevant, but not as much. I just think there's this mega trend around tallow and avocado oil and less processed food that even if you don't call out no seed oils in your packaging 3 or 5 years from now, people are still going to be trained to shop this way. And I know for myself, just shopping for my family, like I'm not one of the fear-based people where I think if I'm going to eat like out at a fast food restaurant one time, I'm going to die. I'm more of like an 80-20, but I do try to shop in my house and keep like the four walls of my house pretty clean. And there's lots of products where like they might use like it's a hummus that has organic everything, but then they have organic sunflower oil in, and like I don't buy it now. And I don't think I'm going to be an anomaly. I think it's just going to become more and more pervasive that people see this stuff and they'll start educating themselves and reading the labels, and they're going to gravitate towards the product that is three ingredients, just potatoes, avocado oil, and salt, or tallow and salt, over the weird things they don't know how to pronounce or they don't know where they came from.
Yeah, I'm the same way. And it's simplicity and transparency because as consumers are just waking up to all of the issues from a chronic disease standpoint and sicknesses that are happening, they're asking questions. And, there's so many factors, I think, that are playing into that. But all we can really do is take things one product or one lifestyle choice at a time and just make a better decision. So hopefully win out and get healthier. So it's definitely it's super timely what you're doing. And I know that you guys are restaurant guys, so you think about that market as well. And one of the for I think when this conversation hit its biggest like cultural moment was back in January with RFK and Maha, and there was the whole steak and shake situation where I think they came out and they said that we're moving to completely tallow fried fries, and I think the conversation was like they weren't actually doing it; it was tallow washing. And my question overall was, what do you see the bigger opportunity? Is it in the restaurant side and fast food, or is it in grocery? But actually, I would love if you could start on the steak and shake situation and how fast food chains are doing this today, and like if that's possible to get to
Yeah.
tallow or avocado.
Yeah, I think we can definitely talk about greenwashing, tallow washing and stuff on the back end of this. But for people that weren't following along, I was pretty involved in seeing this stuff. And I think we have a unique perspective because we actually know the restaurant side of things. I do think sometimes consumers are just unreasonable. Like you'll see someone be like, I can't believe this restaurant would use plastic cutting boards. Like, oh my God, microplastics. It's like, okay, have you ever tried running a restaurant and like see what happens to the stuff that's in your restaurant? And like you got people opening and closing every single night. It's like the reality is like they're not shaving plastic shavings into your food. Like it's just like it's a tool, it's labeled with colors, it makes it easier for the health department, blah blah. Bit of an aside, but it comes up because people were looking at Steak and Shake, and at first they were touting them as heroes because they started saying, we're making 100% beef tallow fries. And it was definitely clever marketing spin because they were doing what, and I think the thing that's really important here, it's that every big food company has been doing this for the last 20 or 30 years where they shout from the rooftop something that sounds really impressive, but really it's kind of not the real thing. So for example, grass-fed beef has become a big buzzword, but grass-fed beef doesn't actually mean anything because from the USDA definition of grass-fed, a cow that's born and eats grass is considered grass-fed. So literally every cow. You can't have a cow that doesn't do that. And then there's a distinction between grass fed, grass finished, or what you call 100% grass fed, which these businesses put huge letters saying grass fed this, grass fed that. They're trying to imply 100% grass fed, but they're not actually doing that. So it makes the terminology grass fed not mean anything because 100% grass fed, you think of a cow living on pasture, living its best life, its entire life until eventually it goes and gets processed and turns into food. For us, but actually, like grass fed, just without grass finished, is a cow that the last 8 weeks of its life was in a feedlot getting force fed a bunch of hay and fattened out before. And that's not what you want. So the tallow situation was similar to that because they started saying 100% tallow. And what they were trying to call out is that we are not using tallow that is using other stuff in it. Because there are tallow products you can get that have like BHT and deodorizers and anti-foaming agents. They basically do all this stuff to make tallow and lard-based frying fats that you'd use in a restaurant cook more similar to like these larger oils. They're not going to foam over, they're not going to smell as bad, all that kind of stuff. For obvious reasons, I think a lot of us would be like, yeah, that doesn't sound like something I'd like to eat. I don't know why I'd want food that has an anti-foaming agent in it. Maybe I just want to cook it in beef tallow if I could do that. So they basically won this big program touting how they are using 100% beef tallow, but they also are kind of implying that their fries are 100% cooked in beef tallow, when in reality, they're buying the same frozen french fries they've been buying for the last 30 years, probably. And they just happen to be frying those in this 100% beef tallow they bought. Not even to be said, like, I'm pretty sure the beef tallow they're buying is just conventional feedlot beef tallow. So there's some problems with that anyway. But then they're taking a french fry that comes from a giant processing facility, is fried in canola oil or soybean oil, and then frozen and then shipped to them, and they're frying it in tallow and calling it 100% tallow fry. So that was the controversy. At first, people were touting them as heroes. Then people started to realize, oh crap, actually, these do taste better because tallow tastes better, but these aren't actually 100% tallow, and started losing that trust. So I was pretty involved in like the Twitter, X.com, whatever it's called now, back and forth. And
Yeah.
honestly, I was trying to pressure them to like be honest and be transparent about it, alongside some of these like activists. But I also was trying to also defend them because people would be like putting a picture of a potato cutter that goes on the wall in a restaurant, somewhere like In and Out or Five Guys, and saying like it's not that hard, just add a potato cutter and like it's $10, you can do it. But they don't realize that if you have 400 restaurants and you're trying to switch your program from cutting fresh or from frozen french fries to cutting fresh, it's a completely different thing. You got to train all these teams. You got to have enough space to store this stuff. You have to switch from freezers to other stuff. Like it would have been a multi-$100,000 investment to like do this hand cut fry thing. So yeah, we did a little investigative work, found, that they're pouring fries from a bag. And I know for a
Yeah.
fact that no one makes a tallow fry other than us, really, frozen. So I knew for a fact they weren't doing that. So we tried to help with a little bit of shining a light on it. And yeah, it came to light. They owned it. They said, we're working in progress to make this better. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
They're still
So
definitely getting credit for it, but yeah, it's a step in the right direction, but it's not as amazing as maybe it was set out to be. Where they took the headlines and some of these news publications started saying these are tallow fries just like McDonald's used to make, and the answer was not really.
yeah, they're just their second fry is in tallow. The first fry that they do is in the blend, which is like you said, the operational challenges and costs of running restaurants might dictate that, and that's fine. But the problem there, it sounds like it was really in the communication and how they were trying to spin the marketing of it, because there are some fast food chains that are doing this fully with beef tallow, right? Like I think Sweet Green might be one of them, or Popeyes. I read. I don't know if that's accurate, but um, yeah, what do you see? Is anybody doing it fully above board?
There isn't a single chain that I know of that's above like 5 or 10 restaurants that's doing it the right way, or like the way that you'd kind of imagine it to be. Popeyes has been frying in like a lard or tallow based thing. I'm pretty sure it's blended with other stuff though. Um, I think they're kind of notoriously known for having suppose like BHT deodorizers things. I don't know for sure on that one.
Yeah,
Pretty sure it's definitely not grass fed beef tallow. And I'm pretty sure they're using some other stuff in there. Like Buffalo Wild Wings is sort of famously also known for this, where like they get credit for using tallow, but some locations do, some don't, some mix it with things. Sweet Green is doing avocado oil, and they're doing an air fried kind of French fry. It's a little bit different. They're doing it in the oven, so it's not as much of like a deep fried French fry, like a fast food fry. But those are pretty good, and it's simple. It's like 4 or 5 ingredients, and they're all normal, natural ingredients like you could make. But yeah, I mean, I think that the big thing, like Five Guys, is a great example, right? Like they buy fresh potatoes, they cut them in house, they rinse them, they fry them once, they cool them, they fry them again. Like they're doing the process right. The one thing they're missing is they use peanut oil, like a refined peanut oil. But like if someone like that with that type of operation switched to tallow, like that would be like the real deal. Or if like In and Out Burger switched to using tallow, that would be like the real deal. The reality is that most of these fast food chains, though, they're buying a frozen French fry because they all operationally switched to this model.
yeah,
And there's these big companies that have huge amounts of scale, and they kind of came up around McDonald's. And if you can buy a box of fries out of the freezer and you can pour them in with no labor costs and no work, and you can make a French fry in 3 minutes, it's a pretty good deal. And most people like aren't that picky about fries. Like if they're hot and they're served in ketchup, they're pretty good,
yeah,
especially if you
and
throw a lot of salt and stuff on them.
yeah, and they're eating at a fast food restaurant, so it's like this is their treat, so they might not care. But
I
I
do
don't
think
know.
there's an opportunity though. Like I think there's a restaurant brand that just came up called Tallow Organic. And they kind of like rebranded. It's like TALO Organic. They're in Southern California. They're trying to start like a new fast casual chain that's kind of like no microplastics, no reverse osmosis water, frying in tallow. They're like way overboard trying to do every single thing right. More power to them. Like if they can figure that out, that's awesome. From running restaurants and seeing what like the unit economics look like at a restaurant, how you make that work without it being like $25 a person and make it scalable is like a really big question mark for me. But I don't know anything that you guys don't know. I've only just seen it on
Yeah.
social and stuff.
I
But
was
that
I was just
people are
gonna say
trying.
that's a $50 burger right there if you're doing all of those things. But yeah, it sounds like you guys just need to open up more manufacturing capacity and then start selling these to to restaurants that
Yeah, we're trying to figure that
want to
out.
make
Yeah,
the switch over.
yeah, and it's funny too, like because our people don't really even know that our backgrounds in restaurants, and we actually do sell fries to other restaurants, but it's mostly in the DC area. We don't sell it like far and wide because we don't have the capacity for it. But we get a lot of inbound now because just people know us as like cooking French fries, making good fries, and clearly people care about seed oil free because we get inquiries from folks all the time saying, "Hey, I've got a food truck I'm trying to open," or "Hey, we're trying to switch our whole menu and we can't find a French fry anywhere. I'm hoping you guys might be able to help us out." And actually, we can do that, but they're literally just hitting up a random French fry brand in the grocery store, as far as they know, asking, "Hey, can you guys solve this problem for us?" So I think the fact that that's happening, and it's not happening because these restaurants have these huge noble missions, right? Like some do, but most of them are doing it because like consumer demand is going that way. So I think when you see enough consumer demand to move the needle on people's buying decisions, that's where you could start seeing a lot of impact. And I think the original question you have is like, what's going to happen in the fast food landscape? I think that there's going to be another Steak and Shake sized fast food chain that could do this and like at that scale, 200 units, 400 units, 800 units, something like that. But thinking that like Wendy's, Burger King, McDonald's, all those guys are going to do it is pretty unrealistic. One, like there actually isn't even enough tallow in the United States, I don't think, especially grass fed, grass finished beef tallow. But even in general, like McDonald's, when they were doing beef tallow, they were like the biggest fast food restaurant. They had a few thousand of them, but there weren't all these other businesses around too. So I honestly don't know how you would source enough fat and tallow to do that. And obviously, if there's a pinch on supply and demand, or there's a pinch on supply and there's a lot of demand, prices are going to go up. And part of the business of fast food is being the most affordable option and being, sort of the gas station for our bodies of like go fill up for calories and then kind of go out. So I don't know. I don't think large chains will be able to make the switch. I think it's pretty unlikely. Maybe it could happen. I do think there will be more and more restaurants moving this, especially like burger chains and stuff like that, just because like consumers know it, they know it tastes good. My hope is that there'll be enough demand from consumers, enough education that you'll start seeing more things happen like we saw with Steak and Shake, where consumers aren't going to just say, "Oh, it says grass-fed beef tallow on the menu. They must be this." Like they're actually going to ask enough questions to say, "Oh, actually, am I paying for like a tallow, 100% tallow fry that's cooked and cut in house, or am I paying for like a frozen French fry that's the same as everybody else that happens to be fried in tallow?" Because there's some chains we've seen, like even newer ones that are pretty well known, that they market being a tallow fry. But like I know just from looking at the photos or looking at their menu or seeing ordering food there, like at this point we can look at a French fry and be like, oh, I know like this is a McCain fry. Like I can kind of tell by looking at it. So my hope is that more people will kind of get with that and realize there are better options, and it'll push the brands that care about integrity and quality to find a partner like us. And there might be other people that emerge too to get a really good manufactured frozen fry that they can serve at their restaurants. So they can be serving something that customers really are willing to pay an extra 50 cents for or a dollar for, versus kind of like the shortcut version that's that tallow or greenwashing.
Yeah, and I think most people are not thinking about it obviously as deeply as we are, and probably don't even understand they're frozen or they're fried twice in most fast food chains. So it's a situation though where the market is so big for fries that you don't need to get 50%. If you get a small percentage of that to start to care, which is happening, I think increasingly by the day, the market's going to be big enough to support multiple brands that are changing things and doing things differently. So, I think you're sitting at a really interesting place right now, and I'm just excited to see where you take it. We talked a little bit about what could happen in the future, but I would honestly be shocked if it goes in the other direction and people care less about this type of thing. I don't really see a world where that can happen. So, if I'm right about that, which I know you're on the same page with, you got a lot of work to do in the next few years.
Yeah, and I think it's directly with Jesse and Ben's and other ways that we can support brands in the space too. It's like our mission has always been kind of like ambitious from not that we are like trying to be multi-hundred millionaires personally. Like it's not really what we care about. I'd like to be in a position to like make money and not have to be stressed about money. That'd be great. But generally, like we try to shoot big and go after big problems because it gets us excited to make a bigger change. And we are really excited about this next wave of like new brands coming up that are also aligned and seeing this opportunity, and they're willing to go into this kind of like gray area where it's not really proven out yet. But then I think there's going to be, to your point, a wave 3 years from now where it's sort of proven out like that this is a mainstay, that people are shopping this way and they're going to continue to shop this way. And I think there'll be some really fascinating new stuff that comes out. And it's funny, like the innovation profile is not going to be the proteinification of everything that's like this new thing, right? It's going to be like going back to basics, like focusing on quality and nutrition, which I think is amazing. I think
So
the big thing we see too, it's like the core insight, even beyond fries for us. And I think there's could maybe be a world where Jesse and Ben's, not right now, a few years from now, is kind of extending beyond fries. But it's how do you give the next generation the like nostalgic American experiences that like people like us grew up on, but not in a way that makes you feel bad or guilty that you're serving that. So I think giving parents the opportunity to share a French fry with like their 6-year-old kid who loves fries and feel really good and excited to have that experience in that moment and like share the magic of going to the drive through when you were a kid and didn't know any better, but now you do know better. You wouldn't really want to do that right now. And I get really excited in the frozen space in general, but especially in fries, is like how do we move the buying power out of the drive-through or out of these fast food restaurants back into the home? Because I think everyone's, tight on money. It's time right now where like there's a lot of stuff going on in the economy. People don't want to spend like $25 a person at the drive-through or at the fast casual restaurant. But if you can buy your really great Jesse and Ben's fries and you can buy grass-fed beef burger and make burger night at home, you can spend like $10 a person and buy like the highest quality meat you can buy and really good sides and really good everything. Save money, have a great family experience cooking at home. I know like convenience is a big thing, right? Now everyone has time to cook dinner at home, so I do get that part of it too. But there's like some amazing meals you can make in 20 minutes at home, steak, burgers, chicken nuggets, chicken tenders, grass-fed beef in a frying pan, whatever it is. And I hope there's going to be more of a return to that too, that you can kind of like bring French fries not just center of the plate, but like a side that also gives you this restaurant experience. And when you pair it up with like some really good nutrient dense, easy to make things, you can make good food for a family and save money and actually be eating way more nutrient dense, better food.
Well said. So that's really exciting stuff. Congrats on all the upcoming launches, the sweet potato fries, and everything else. And love to have you back on for another chat in a few months
Well,
and
I'm hoping
go
to keep
deeper.
the mantle of the most frequented guest. So currently on the leaderboard, I'll be looking for anyone else getting their second. I'll be scheduling my third.
No doubt, man. And before we go, anything you can preview that you're excited about for the summer, or what's coming up for Jesse and Ben's?
I don't have a firm timeline on it, but I can share that we're working on. We've gotten a lot of feedback that there's not always the most convenient store near people where they're trying to get our fries, or they've come to learn that like we're just sold out all the time, which honestly is a bummer. And I'm trying to figure out how to fix that. But it's a good problem to have is that we keep selling out. But we're working on trying to find some online options. So we're probably not going to do our own direct to consumer, but working with some great partners. We're talking to Thrive Market. We're really excited about potentially some of these online meat companies where people are buying meat and awesome other stuff, and giving people a way to order Jesse and Men's fries to their doorstep. So that's a really exciting update. Hopefully we'll have it up and running by, the summer and grilling season or back to school or one of these things. All this stuff, unfortunately, takes a little bit longer than you wish it would. But it's in motion. Whole Foods launch we're really excited about. We've got some other fun R&D stuff I can't share quite yet, but I'll say like, if you like fries and you've got a request, whether it's a tater tot or whatever collab you could think of, let us know. We're listening. We're always trying to find fun stuff to do. And yeah, it was exciting and fun to be here. Happy to be on the show again. And yeah, I think generally anybody who's interested in the space, there's a lot of really cool stuff going on. There's a lot of really great brands out there that are making simpler food or better tasting versions of food than the kind of core products out there. They usually do cost a few bucks more, but yeah, there's a lot of really great options. So I hope people will give some of these brands a try, taste them, try them out, and yeah, hopefully you love them.
Amazing. Well, thanks, Jesse. Appreciate you coming on, and congrats on everything. We'll be following along.
Thanks, and you can follow along at Jesse and Ben's on Instagram. Is usually a good place to find us.
All right. We'll see you soon.
Yep. See ya.